Hello and welcome back to this episode of the PD Smash podcast. Today we've got some great topics for you. First off, we're going to talk about Cam Newton and the Patriots' win this week over the Arizona Cardinals. Then we're going to talk about the future for Carson Wentz and the Eagles. Next, we're going to talk about LiAngelo Ball signing with the Detroit Pistons. And finally, we're going to talk Giannis Antetokounmpo's signing the Supermax conundrum. So first off, I want to talk about Cam Newton's and the Patriots win over the Arizona Cardinals, because let's be honest, it wasn't really Cam Newton. He had a dreadful performance, and I mean absolutely dreadful. I had him on my fantasy team and he scored a total like 4 points. Like, dude, you gotta be better. You're a talented player, and yes, not the greatest supporting cast. We'll admit that. But you're good enough to get over, I think it was like 150 yards. He didn't even get over like 150 yards. He was just dreadful. And they won that game because of superior coaching. I think Cliff Kingsbury is going to be a really good coach in this NFL, but Bill Belichick is the best to ever do it. So you got to keep that in consideration when you're playing the Patriots, and that coaching and that defense and that special teams all came to play, and that offense of running game was enough to tide them over and get them into contention for that winning spot. And then the defense and special teams pushed it over the edge. For the Arizona Cardinals, I think they're going to be fine. I don't think this is like some major, oh no, they lost to the Patriots, they're going to crumble. I never really had them making the playoffs. Like, I thought they were a fringe playoff team to begin with. I didn't think there was a high chance they'd make the playoffs. I thought there was a chance. So I don't think that, in general, this is going to be a be blow to their confidence. They're going to continue to grow. Kyler's going to continue to grow. And I think that next year, this is going to be a team to really be a reckoning for other teams and be a force to be reckoned with in the future. Now, moving on to the second part of this, which is the Patriots' playoff hopes. And that win is what kept them alive. And looking at the remainder of their schedule, I think that they could realistically make the playoffs. Yes, right now, more teams have more wins, and if they all win out, they'll end up beating the Patriots out. But I don't see that happening. I could see the Patriots winning out because of superior coaching. I don't think Cam Newton's going to play that horrible again. And I think it's just going to be a really good latter half of the season for the Patriots. And I think other teams might fall off. So we'll end up seeing about that. Next, I want to talk about Carson Wentz's situation with the Eagles. Now, I've said this before. I'm a Washington football fan, so this makes me extremely happy in terms of them struggling, because that gives the Washington football team a chance to make the playoffs, baby. Yeah. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about one of my personal favorite players in the NFL, in Carson Wentz. And I think that this year is not a indicator of what I think he'll be long term. But I think he's trying to do what he did last year and put the team on his back. But he can't do that anymore because the defense is just continuously declining. So he has to play from behind more and more. So it wasn't just the running game was good and the passing game was good because it was set up by the running game. And even though they didn't have weapons, at least they had a solid running game. Now they're playing from behind, so they can't even get that running game going. So Carson Wentz is just doing too much and missing too many throws. And I think he'll be fine in the long term and long run, but I don't think as of right now he's even a top 20 quarterback in this league. I think that the Eagles should seriously consider starting Jalen Hurts next year if halfway through the season Carson Wentz can't get it together. So I would give this year, say it's a wash. Next year, try to reload with as many weapons as possible and see how Carson Wentz does. And if he continues to underperform, I would say start Jalen Hurts and see if you can get something for Carson Wentz, no matter how menial it is. Because I don't even know what team at this point would want Carson Wentz. Maybe like the Jaguars. Some team like that might want Carson Wentz, but it's really, really hard at this point to justify the amount of money Carson Wentz is getting and the amount of money they paid for him. But beyond that, there's not really much to do. I think Doug Peterson needs to do a much better job coaching, and I think the front office needs to do a better job of surrounding Carson Wentz with talent. But at the end of the day, great quarterbacks elevate the players around him, and I thought Carson Wentz was that type of great talent, but it's turning out that he's not. I hope he proves me wrong in the future, but it just doesn't look like it now, and I would not be surprised if he's a backup halfway through next year. Next, I wanted to talk about the LiAngelo Ball Detroit Pistons signing. Now, in terms of do I think this is going to impact Detroit's roster and make them a playoff team? No. Yes, I understand. And I really understand that LiAngelo Ball could have some great upside. But there's a reason he hasn't been in the league for his first X number of years. And that's because he's very inconsistent, has an attitude problem, and can't seem to get disciplined. So if he fixes all those, maybe LiAngelo Ball can be a good player in the NBA, but as of immediate impact, I don't see very much. The more interesting side of this is what it means for the Big Baller brand and LeVar Ball and LiAngelo Ball and Lonzo Ball, because this is the first time I could really think a family of this caliber has risen in the NBA. Even though the players aren't necessarily the greatest, because LaMelo hasn't played a year in the NBA yet, neither has LiAngelo, and Lonzo's disappointed thus far. I think that in totality, they could end up playing together, because I think LaMelo, that's the brother, is going to be the best out of all of them, and I think that he actually has star potential, because his shot's not totally messed up, and it looks like he's going to be able to make at a high level, and he's already played the physicality of a certain league, so I could definitely see that happening, where it's this guy is going to become a star, and when that happens, he could be I want my brothers. I want to play basketball with my brothers. And if that's the case, they could all come and play on the same team. And that would be insane. That would be like saying in the NFL, if J.J. Watt, Derek Watt, and T.J. Watt were we all want to play on the same team. And then they all go do it. Imagine how dominant T.J. and J.J. Watt would be. That would be insane. Have T.J. on one side, not Derek Watt, that's a fullback. J.J. Watt on the other side just running at you. That'd be so scary. But that's besides the point. LaMelo, Lonzo, and LiAngelo together in probably Charlotte, I would assume, would be one of the most historic things to happen, because it wouldn't be the Cody Martin and I'm forgetting his brother's name, but the Martin brothers, or Marcus Morris and Markieff Morris, because all those players are good role players, but they were never stars or above average starters. But Lonzo has the potential to be above average starter, and LaMelo has the potential to be a star, if not a superstar. And I don't know about LiAngelo. He's gonna have to show me something on the basketball court for me to think he's gonna be anything that's not a bust. Or he wouldn't even be a bust, just a man that's in the league one season and then out for the rest of his career. But I don't see a scenario where LiAngelo, LaMelo, and Lonzo don't end up playing together, or at least two of them playing together at one time, and that was going to be a really fun thing to watch. Just see the brother dynamics and all that. So I'm really excited to see that if it happens and when that comes to fruition, because I do believe it will. But now to move on to our main subject, and that's the Giannis Antetokounmpo Supermax signing conundrum. For Giannis, this is a really hard decision because there are so many factors you have to come into play. what is my competition this offseason? How much money do people have to offer me in terms of cash space and like who's going to give me max offers? Who do I want to go to? Then there's the what about my legacy? How will this affect my legacy if I go to certain teams? What will my perception be and how will I perceived in terms of legacy? And all this matters to Giannis. So it's balancing all of those options to see what he wants to do. And from my perspective, he really has about 4 distinct options. The first one is signing the Supermax before the end of the summer. That would be the safest option. He'd get the most money from it. And the Bucks would be title contenders for the next 6 years. Although we never know with the progression of Giannis and the progression of that team if they're ever going to reach a finals, let alone win one. But they would be a finals contender every year, even if they weren't able to make it all the way to the promised land. And that's more of just like I understand, but at the same time, I don't really think that's the smartest option for Giannis, because I don't think Giannis really cares that much about money. Like, yes, he likes enough money to survive, but he doesn't seem like the type of person that's like, I want all these rich things. I like material things. He seems much more of a family-oriented man and one who likes sentimental values and stuff like that more than the material, expensive goods. On the other hand, he could wait till this coming off season and then sign the max contract. Now, from my understanding of Supermaxes, he couldn't sign the Supermax this offseason because he's not an 8th or 9th year player. He'd be a 7th year player at that point. And the only time you can get a Supermax in free agency is if you're an 8th or 9th year player. With that in mind, Giannis would have to sign the max if he were to play with Milwaukee. At least that's the way I interpret the rules of the Supermax contract. If Giannis were to do this, which he might, you never know, it would be because the Bucks at least made the finals, or they won the finals. That would be the only 2 reasons I would see Giannis and the Bucks getting to an agreement of a max deal. That's the only scenario I could foresee that happening. I don't foresee it happening in any other way. There's another second round exit, another conference finals exit. Gosh forbid, there's another first round exit like that happened a couple of years ago. I don't think that the Bucks could get Giannis to sign a long-term max deal. Now, the third option Giannis has is that he could sign a 1+1. Now, the advantages to this is it gives him a lot of control over the roster, and it gives the Bucks one more year, at least one more year, to get enough pieces around Giannis to win a championship. This would be like the Bucks' last chance. This would be Giannis giving the Bucks one last chance. The cons of this are that LeBron and AD, and if he would want to go to the Lakers, would be a year older, LeBron in particular. And a lot of the cap space people have cleared up for Giannis could evaporate due to the free agency class of 2021, which is quite large. So with that in mind, I don't think this is what Giannis is going to do, but I could see him doing it if, say, they made it to the conference finals and were within one game. He'd be like, okay, I'm going to give you a 1+1 deal, and we're going to see if we can't hit another run at this and see if we can't make it to the finals and all of that. And be a 1+1 player option, not a 1+1 team option. Next is what Giannis would do if he wanted to sign with another team, which would be signing with one of the lower level teams that would propel them into contender status. That would be, in Maine, the Dallas Mavericks and the Heat. Now with the Miami Heat, they have more of an aging superstar. I would say at this point you have to put Jimmy Butler as a superstar, in the fact that he's I think 32 at this point, and he's only getting older with age. But Giannis would help boost that core and would help get Bam Adebayo to that next level. And him, Bam, Jimmy Butler, I guess it'd be like Tyler Hero and Jamison Crowder would probably be their starting five unless I'm missing someone. And that's a not only deadly offensive lineup, that's a deadly defensive lineup. And I really like that for them. And at that point, it would make the East a two-team race between them and the Nets, because I couldn't see like the Celtics matching that. I couldn't see the Raptors matching that. I couldn't see the Wizards matching that, or the Hawks, or any other team. The only team I could see matching that would be the Brooklyn Nets with their two big stars, and then their good supporting cast around those stars with Jared Allen, with Karis LeVert, with Spencer Dinwiddie, with DeAndre Jordan. All those players are good supporting pieces, so I could see them being able to beat the Heat, but that would be the only way and the only team I would see unless something drastically changes in the 2021 offseason, which it might, but those would be the only two teams that I would see winning the East at that point. Now, the other one's the Mavericks, which is the one that I would personally love to see, because Giannis right now, when he would sign with the Mavericks, would be 26. Luka would be 22. Porzingis would be 25. Imagine that lineup. You have Luka at the 1, whoever you want at the 2, and Giannis at the 3, Kristaps at the 4, and then a stretch big at the 5, or you put Porzingis at the 4, Giannis at the 5, and whoever you want at 3, or you put Porzingis at the 5, Giannis at the 4, and whoever you want at 3, or you put someone at the 1 guard and the 2 guard, and you put Luka at the 3, Giannis at the 4, Porzingis at the 5. There's literally so much versatile lineups and versatility you could use with that lineup, because Giannis is so tall, Porzingis is so tall, Luka is so tall, and they're all so versatile as players and playmakers that you could stick Giannis 3 through 5, Porzingis at the 4 or 5, Luka 1 through 3, and you could just plug and play. And that would also allow them to get the best free agents on the market in terms of supporting pieces, because since those players are so versatile, they wouldn't have to necessarily just fill their rosters out with 3s, or just fill the roster out with 2s, or just fill the roster out with 1s. They could be like, okay, we need a backup 1, but maybe since we need a backup 1, but since there are 2 good options at point guard, maybe we slide Luka to the shooting guard, so we only need 1 shooting guard instead, when there's not that many quality shooting guards out there that we can get for a cheap price. And then for Giannis, we could probably stick him at the 3, so we only need 1 backup 3, because there are a couple really good 4s on the market, but there's not a really good 3. And then Porzingis, you could stick at the center, because there's really no center positions that are any good. But you could stick Porzingis there, and you could run Porzingis, and you could run Giannis at the 5 together for a lot of those minutes, and then you'd only need 1 backup. You'd only need 1 backup 3 at that point, and you would be able to play 2 4s. And you see how those different versatile lineups would make that team so incredibly deadly. And not only that youth in 10 years would still have Giannis at 36, which LeBron's around that age now, so don't tell me, oh, Giannis will not be good anymore. He could still be good. He could still be a productive player, especially with his length and with the fact that he is the freak athlete. Porzingis will be 35 at that point, which for Porzingis, that's a little iffy because he has had some injury issues, but he could still be a productive player. And then Luka would still arguably be in his prime years at 32. So that team could dominate for years and years to come. It wouldn't just be, 3 years and done, 2 years and done. This could be a prolonged dominance period, just like with the Spurs. Now, finally, the final scenario that I see is likely is LeBron and AD welcoming Giannis into the fold. That would be sad. It would be the first time, I believe, in NBA history that 3 top 5 players, LeBron number 1, and then Giannis and AD somewhere in the top 5, would play on the same team. This would be as bad, if not worse, than what KD did with the Warriors. Because yes, there were 4 people on that team that were really good, that were all-star caliber. But Clay was fringe top 10. Steph Curry was top 5, not a doubt, and KD was. But Clay was fringe top 10, and Draymond was fringe top 20. What you're telling me now is that 3 top 5 players in the NBA would play together on the same court at the same time. That would be insane, but it would break the NBA. There'd be no team that would be able to compete with that. That'd be like in 2017 with the Warriors, where everyone was just like, we give up. 2018, we give up. Like, that's not good. It's not good for the league. There would be no parity again. I loved this season, even in the bubble, because you could say that the Lakers or the Clippers were the favorite, but you had teams like the Nuggets. You had teams like the Heat that just came out of nowhere. There was parity in the league. You could legitimately say there was like 6 or 7 teams that can make a legit finals run. And that's insane. Like, there is an actual chance, and I don't think we will ever really get that again, or at least for a while, if Giannis signs with the Lakers. So those are really just the 4 main ones that I see. I don't really see very much else happening with the Giannis situation. Yeah, you could ask a trade mid-season, but I wouldn't really see that happening because the Bucks are always a really, really good regular season team. It's the playoffs where things matter, and by that time, there's no trades, so you would just stick it out till the end. So, of course, there are other scenarios, like maybe Giannis goes to the Toronto Raptors because they have the cap space for him, but Giannis doesn't necessarily seem... It doesn't seem like that personnel fits Giannis. Like, there's not a lot of shooting there. There is a second star in Pascal. We saw him thrive in that role a couple years back with Kawhi. But Kyle Lowry's aging. That team is just constructed weird, and I don't think Giannis would want to go there. There are some teams like that, but it's really just those 4 main scenarios that I could see happening. That's all for today's episode. I really want to thank you for listening. If you are listening to this on YouTube, below is a link to my blog where you can learn more about me, read my past articles, listen to my past blog posts, and contact me. If you go to my contact page on my blog, which has my email and my phone number. Now, if you use my phone number, please do not call because I will not pick up. Text, because I do love talking sports with you all. I have opinions about almost every topic on basketball, football, baseball. I could even come up with opinions about tennis if you wanted me to. I just really love to talk about sports, and that's why I made this podcast, so I could interact with you guys and we could build a community together. So if you want to contact me, my email and my phone number are on the contact page. I want to thank all you Smash fans for coming out and listening to this episode, and I want to just say until the next time, BD Smash, signing off.